All right, guys and gals, welcome back to the Cardboard Crawler's Garage, an ongoing project. We're going to be working on the Maz cheat code today. We're going to put a Injora, what they call the Pro motor. It's a 50 turn 050 can, just a sweet little motor. I have it in something else. I know a lot of them run out there. So yeah, let's get into it. So one of the things that's really great about this chassis is the magnet mount setup. I do give it, it's a little twist. It's almost imperceptible, but when you have these set at different polarities and this nice strong one set up back there, I mean, you can throw this body at this thing and it almost goes into place. Sometimes I'll have to squeeze it to get it onto the little line in the sliders there, but just a little adjustment. And it's probably because where I have my ESC. So it's just Velcroed in here and bang, bang. So one of the great things about the Maz chassis is the fact that it has a reversible, it comes, the motor mount slash slider, you know, is flat and it is multi-directional or unidirectional. It has to go into the chassis rails one way, but then you can put your motor on it either way that you would like. You just have to do some adjustments with your drive lines if you're not running it the stock direction. So in my other rig, I believe I have the same Purple Pro motor and I have it this direction. So we're going to run this one the reverse, and yeah, not a big deal. Like I was saying, these unidirectional motor mounts are great. They work super easy. You just take out this top screw right there and heads up, that screws out. These two screws out, and then before I let it just drop, I will get my driveline bolts out as well, and then that way they just sit there. So I'll leave that one just in. I'll get to my driveline bolts. Can I get to them? There we go. That one's at the top. The other one should be as well if we have these all synced in the way they're supposed to be. But we won't be able to get to it from the top. It's out somewhere. Probably magneted to the motor. And yep, there it is. Bang, bang. So these are all in sync, so to speak. And we'll just drop that through. Once again, it's somewhere in there. It'll be on this towel. I don't have a good mat right now. I have like a nice one for working on guns and stuff, but I just don't use it out here. I find that a little towel does me just fine because I move this workbench around. It doesn't just stay here. It has stayed here a while, but doesn't always. So tweezers are our friends for many things. Just holding things where we need them. All right, get this drive line to sit where it can just stay there. A little technical difficulty. I kicked the camera here, so we'll get right back to it. But hey, if you haven't liked, subscribed, or shared yet, please do so. And thanks for coming along. Here we go. And it's just a matter of, what is that, 3 or 4? I think it's 3 just to get the outside undone. So we'll get these put off to the side. We're still missing, maybe we're not missing it. We're not missing it. It's in here somewhere. anyhow, get the motor split from the case. On bottom corner. I like to just set them where I get them from. Like in a pattern on my mat in the area where I will remember where they go. If I'm looking at, you know, the way I remember it in my brain, I don't need to tell someone else where these bolts are going in. I need to remember. So, boom, cover off. Okay, and then to get this motor all the way off, we need to take the spur gear off. And I just take it off and set it the way it came off. We don't need to take that off. We take them off later to save them. That's the next size up. That's still that size. Here we go. Bang, bang. Save those. And if I remember correctly, that's why they send us the plate. That's right. So I took this part. It's just a little magnet in there. It must be some kind of quote-unquote resistor that they've built in, and this came off of a stock Gladiator. So let me know in the version 2s if they've put this resistor in everything now. I know that they had an ESC problem for a while. Do people think that this resistor is helping save ESCs? What do they think is going on with that, what I'm calling a resistor? Is it a resistor or is it something else entirely? Let me know. Obviously, I'm not going to snap it onto the purple motor, but I'd just like to know what people think it is. I don't know electronics that well, or I don't know much about electronics. I get basic theory, but and that's why I think it's some kind of resistor, quote unquote. But yeah, let me know what you think it is. And I'll just go right along with you. So yeah, getting this off pretty quick and easy. I really like the way it comes out of the truck. Really easy. For some reason, it seems like stock ones aren't as easy. Maybe they are, and I just, am such a Maz fan that I like it. But, I'm just a fan because it works. Like, whatever. They're sweet. They're expensive. If, it's hard for someone to, pay that, you're paying for a chassis that costs almost as much as a brand new car, or not I'm sorry, not a brand new car, but, you can, the tie chassis, 95, throw in the hardware kit, make it 105. But man, it really works well, and I think if you're gonna go comp, that you're gonna spend a little bit of money on comping. So I think that's a wise direction to go. I'm not saying it's the only chassis out there, but they're clean as. And I like the look of it as well. They're not just well made and well thought out. I like the finish. I like the tie finish. I really took a lot of time on my second chassis before I even put it together, and sanded it down even more than Maz himself does. He does a great job of getting the finish and fitment just right. And, you know, you can take it to another level if you want. You could go out there and polish that titanium up, and it would be sick. But I just really got in there with some fines and sanded every little bit of scuff and scrum out of there. And yeah, so you don't have to do that by any means. I just go ahead and I want to put on the pinion that came with this real quick, rather than use an old one. I'll put it on there first. And I use the back of one of my wrenches, and then that just pushes it right to where it needs to be. It's just boom, right in place. And then what I do is I just put this first screw in that you can get at. You can get at the next one too. And I put that in, but I don't really tighten this one at all. Because you have to, okay, it's just touching, right? And it's even backed off from touching. Now this one, I get it a little snug, and then we're gonna set the mesh, or, you know, get it fairly well adjusted. And then that way I can just loosen this one that I can still see. So I can loosen this one, I can still see it. This right here, and that way. So yeah, what I've done is I've left this one loose and have this one just snug. I'm gonna set the spur gear down in there, and, you know, like, bang bang goes the gun. It looks real good just right off the bat, you know. I mean, I don't know that it gets much better. We'll see. Give her a little spin. Feels good, looks really good. And I'm just gonna call that. So what I do is I go ahead and tight snug, make sure that one's snug. Boom, pull the spur, get into that one. Make sure I'm not holding the motor. I'm holding the plate as I tighten, so I don't get the motor out of adjustment any, you know, I'm not putting pressure with my thumb or my finger on the motor to actually change its position. Simply getting those screws nice and snug. Remember, this isn't, you know, like a dragster engine going into a top fuel car. It doesn't have to be torqued to massive specifications. You know, nice and tight works. Get my spur mounting nut started. Boom, boom, nylock. Once again, don't over tighten. Snug is good. All right, seems good. All right, so that's mounted up to its plate. We just need to put the face cover back on. There's that. She goes. I don't know why. Oh yeah, because that holds the plate on. I always forget that little screw. I get confused as to why I take that one off first, and then I realize it's a plate holder, so you have to get it off. Driver. And let me know what you think about putting the 2 motor screws. They're the 1.5s. They're kind of shorties. I don't think that they have factory Loctite on them. I don't put Loctite on, or at least I haven't put Loctite on those yet. Because I'm always worried about putting any liquids, even though it's a finite amount, down into a motor, like a little electric motor like that, you know, like if it was, I don't know, you tell me, should I put a drop of Loctite on those screws or not? Obviously not the spur gear nut, you know, that thing is a nylock nut, so it doesn't need anything. So yeah, you let me know what you think. So I'll just try to just put this drive line back in here this way, the way that it's supposed to go. Let's get it all in sync. We'll go ahead and put, I've tried to put mainly stainless steel back into this. Obviously with that motor just now, we didn't, it's not all. It's not feeling like it's going in. Maybe because it's not. There we go. No. I know it's that shorty. So yeah, just, you know, it's pretty simple operation right here, guys. You're taking out old parts, you're putting in new parts. They're almost exactly the same. All the nuts and bolts are exactly the same. You know, the look of the part is just a little bit different. This can is a little bit longer than this can, and if you think you can, you can. Okay, so I took a second and just lined my front drive line, all the splines up correctly, and got this in sync, meaning that this bolt lines up with where this bolt is, and it will line up with where the rear one is. I will make sure of that as I put it all back together. And then I made sure that my wires were to the inside so I don't come up against the edge of the frame rail right here in any point. And I will grab one little screw that I just threw off of the end of my driver. Let me see if I can grab that. Okay, well, truth be told, that screw's probably lost and gone forever. I'm gonna vacuum later so that some of the dog hair stays clear of the indoor course, but who knows? I looked. I'm not gonna look too hard. Just a little bit too much of some dead air here for a moment, guys. So please like, subscribe, share. Hey, tell a friend. I made this more geared towards the beginner. I myself am a beginner. I've only been RCing for a few months now. And look, I'm building up my first comp chassis here. So, well, it's my second one, but this one's really designed more towards the comp side of things. So we'll see. Those shocks are definitely changing. They're just what I have on there. Let's go. So, guys, when I was putting my rear driveline in, I forgot that this one has a very limited slip on it. There's not a huge amount of travel in these chassis when you set them up on these small the smaller shocks, the stock length shock. Not that that's a bad thing. It actually just creates really good balance in these rigs. Anyhow, I took this shock off of this side so that I could let my suspension a little bit free so that I could get my driveline back into place. I could have loosened the motor mounts. I didn't feel like doing that. I just took this shock off, which allowed me enough freedom to put this back into place. And once again, make sure everything's in sync. Some people don't believe that you need to have your front drive line synced with the rear, so you could have your screws mounted here and here on the front, and here and here on the rear, and here, you know, here and here on the front. I don't know. I am a big fan of keeping everything lined up. It's your prerogative at that point. So we got this in. I'm going to remount this shock, and I will show how I do that real quick. I am using about I think those are the 12 millimeter long hex heads, and then I put two, not one, but two O-rings over that before I go to my mount hole. And I get that driven down in. I use this long screws. I found, you know, sometimes, especially we're going to a printed part, get in there with as much length and bite as you can. And what I do is I just tighten it to where those rubber grommets are just snugging up. These rubber grommets right here, there's two of them, and just where I don't have any movement from the pivot ball, there's movement in the shock right there. I have that built in by only having one grommet on the pivot ball, but there's no movement from the pivot ball head unless I push really hard, and then I go against the two grommets that are there. So I don't snug that. I don't crush those grommets. I just get it snug. Bong bong. That's done. Battery, ESC back in place. We're running. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. So after putting that motor in, I just threw it on the scale. It actually has a battery in it, so 344 with a battery. Let's take that out real quick. I like to go weight without a battery. It's kind of like weighing your backpack with no food and water. Just the essentials. So 319. Yesterday I ended up taking some brass wheel weights out of the rear. I forgot that that set of tires, or that set of wheels and rims, had brass all the way around it. So I went ahead and took the Injora brass weight out and put an aluminum back into the rear, and I threw knuckles on it, and somehow it ended up coming up a little bit lighter than it was. I had also thrown, that's what I did. I took off the brass hex extenders. I put on the Hot Racing 4mm axle extenders. I also threw on a coat of rear diff cover because I had this all apart, or I've had the axles out. I wanted to grease that. I have a cheapy 11 gram front that I'm not necessarily ready to put on yet. We'll see. So what was that, 319 or 320? 320, no battery. That's pretty good weight on a comp rig, I think. We're getting there. I really would love to check out some of the the 4 corner weights, figure out my balance. But much like Texoma, you know, I mean, he put one on a scale after he'd been running it for a while and dialing it in, and it was 60-40, and I can't remember the exact weight, but he had the ratio right just by getting his truck to work properly. And I think a lot of us fail to realize that you can really get out there and dial in some things and make the difference without having all these technological advantages and money to spend. And you know, so hey, kitchen scale, I've had this thing laying around in that for years, traveled with it all over the country. You know, it was in some kitchen supplies and it just sits in the cabinet, so good times. All right, guys, so just came out from the garage. Well, came out from the house, but that's where the cardboard crawler's garage is, and we are out at the outdoor amphitheater, as we like to call it. This is the rock section. Look at that little cheat code sitting there on a cliffhanger body. Got a cross of Injora, Trial, Maz Designs. Not many other parts on there, I don't think. At least not yet. So, yeah. We're gonna give that a little quick run here outdoors and see how she does. Just got that new Purple Pro motor in there. Got some brass knuckles on it. Changed up the weight a little bit. 320 grams with no battery. I think it's 344 with. So, we'll check it out. Some very nice slow crawl. I've done that thing where if you double click your bind button on a version 2 electronics, your steering dual rate becomes your throttle dual rate. You click it all the way up and you have way more throttle control, especially with the purple motor where it wants to kind of jerk on a takeoff. It kind of alleviates that. So I talk about the servo here in a second, and I say Eco Max. I think it's an Eco Power servo that I have laying around. Yeah, it's something else. It's not the Emax. It's, yep, Eco Power. Digital micro, metal geared. Anyhow, good times. Yeah, so should have thrown in that Eco Max servo. Not a big deal. I'll do it later. I actually think that the mount that I have has a really bad hole in it. It won't take the screw properly, so I have another mount on the way, and I think that's kind of why I was holding off. So yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's see some more. Blue really wants to go for a walk right now. If you don't all know, Blue's the dog, and it's his walk down to the church time of day. Hopefully we'll go catch some squirrels. I think at this time of the year, the longer we wait, the better off we are. Needs to cool down a little bit more for it to be real good squirrel hunting season for him. But it's coming, huh, Blue? It's coming. And before you know it, we'll be back in the snow. We have paperwork back in at Sugar Bowl now, and I don't know. We'll figure out what we're doing. Till then, we'll just be crawling and chilling. Well, hold up. All right, made a minor adjustment in the trail right there because a lot of this area is just kind of unfinished. This is the edge, and I just haven't been out here doing stuff. So, yeah, let's move along. Let's come out this way a little bit, see what we get. Like I said, a lot of this area is just kind of unfinished. This sand offers zero traction. You cannot have sand at the bottom of a little rock you're trying to climb up. It just, I don't know, doesn't work. I've noticed that I just have to have rock everywhere because I don't have any kind of clay or anything. It's all sand. That's the servo just screwing me right there, and I'm not too worried about it. We have other options coming, so we'll figure it out. But she's a runner. I think the Purple Pro motor with the version 2 electronics is going to be just fine for this thing for now. It's not a super heavy rig. I don't intend on adding a bunch more weight. You know, like I was saying yesterday about the Maz Designs chassis, it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, you know, this truck is gonna be a sweet runner. I mean, I don't know that it's actually more capable than my other version 2. You know, the Gladiator that's on the Grizzly Works LCG kit. Dude, that thing's a runner. But it's also on portals, you know, longer wheelbase portals. You know, it's got some advantages, but disadvantages too. I mean, that thing weighs like 460 grams or something like that, or more. It is a beast of a rig. So anyway, I think we've done enough for today. My dog really wants to go for a walk. I'm gonna take him. Cardboard crawlers out. Hey, thanks everybody for coming along for this journey. It's really fun, and I hope you're enjoying it. This is the whole Cardboard Crawlers fleet here, and have a great one. Thanks.